Welcome back to part 9. The last time we read, Leigh had just heard a child in the background when he called his dad. His dad had also revealed that he lost Bandit in the mountains. He let him out and didn't find him. So Leigh was pretty upset. That was called the climax of the book. Now, from this point forward, things are going to start to change. The problems are going to get to be resolved. And we want to look very carefully at the changes we see in Leigh. One of the themes that we identified that comes through in this book a lot is loneliness. Leigh is very lonely. He doesn't have any friends. His mom isn't around a lot. So he doesn't really have people that he trusts and people that he can talk to. So we're going to start to see some changes in Leigh. So as I read, I want you to think carefully about that. There are some changes that he kind of tells us directly. And then there are some changes that we have to infer and we have to watch for carefully by what he thinks, what he says, and what he does. So that's going to be the focus of this week's lessons is changes in the character from the beginning to the end. All right, so listen in. Monday, February 5th. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, I don't have to pretend to write to Mr. Henshaw anymore. I'm sorry, that's not correct. It says, Dear Mr. Henshaw, I don't have to pretend to write to Mr. Henshaw anymore. I've learned to say what I think on a piece of paper. And I don't hate my father either. I can't hate him. Maybe things would be easier if I could. Yesterday, after I hung up on Dad and I flopped down my bed, I cried and swore and pounded my pillow. I felt so terrible about Bandit riding around with a strange trucker and Dad taking another boy out for pizza when I was all alone in the house with the mildewed bathroom, when it was raining outside and I was hungry. The worst part of all of it was I knew if Dad took someone to a pizza place for dinner, he wouldn't have phoned me at all. No matter what he said, he would have had too much fun playing video games. Then I heard Mom's car stop out front. I hurried and washed my face and tried to look as if I hadn't been crying. But I couldn't fool Mom. She came to the door of my room and said, Hi, Leigh. I tried to look away, but she came closer in the dim light and said, What's the matter, Leigh? Nothing, I said, but she knew better. She sat down and put her arm around me. I tried hard not to cry, but I couldn't help it. Dad lost Bandit, I finally said. Oh, Leigh, she said, and I blubbered out the whole story, pizza and all. We just sat there a while, and then I said, Why did you have to go and marry him? Because I was in love with him, she said. Why did you stop? I asked. We just got married too young, she said. Growing up in that little valley town with nothing but sagebrush, oil wells, and jackrabbits, there wasn't much to do. I remember at night how I used to look at the lights of Bakersfield in the distance and wish I could live in a place like that. It looked so big and exciting. It seems funny now, but then it seemed like New York or Paris. After high school, the boys mostly went to work in the oil fields and joined the army, and the girls got married. Some people went to college, but I couldn't get my parents interested in helping me. After graduation, your dad came along in a big truck, and well, that was that. He was big and handsome, and nothing seemed to bother him. The way he handled his rig, well, he seemed like a knight in shining armor. Things weren't too happy at home with your grandfather drinking and all, so Dad and I ran off to Las Vegas and got married. I enjoyed riding with him until you came along. And well, by that time, I had had enough of highways and truck stops. I stayed home with you, and he was gone most of the time. I felt better, a little better, when Mom said she was tired of life on the road. Maybe I wasn't to blame, after all. I remembered, too, how Mom and I were alone a lot and how I hated living in that mobile home. About the only places we ever went were the laundromat and the library. Mom read a lot, and she used to read to me, too. She used to talk a lot about her elementary school principal who was excited about reading. She had the whole school celebrate books and authors every April. Now Mom went on. I didn't think playing pinball machines in a tavern on Saturday night was fun anymore. Maybe I grew up and your dad didn't. Suddenly, Mom began to cry. I felt terrible making Mom cry, so I began to cry more. We both cried until she said, "It's not your fault, Leigh. You mustn't ever think that. Your dad has many good qualities. We just married too young, and he loves the excitement of life on the road, and I don't." "But he lost Bandit," I said. "He didn't leave the cab door open for him when it was snowing." "Maybe Bandit is just a bum," said Mom. "Some dogs are, you know. Remember how he jumped into your father's cab in the first place? Maybe he was just ready to move on to another truck." She could be right, but I didn't like to think so. I was afraid to ask the next question, but I did. Mom, do you still love Dad?" "Please don't ask me," she said. I didn't know what to do, so I just sat there until she wiped her eyes and blew her nose and said, "Come on, Leigh, let's go out." So we got in the car and drove to that fried chicken place and picked up a bucket of fried chicken. Then we drove down by the ocean and ate chicken with the rain sliding down the windshield and waves breaking on the rocks. There were little cartoons of mashed potatoes and gravy on the bucket of chicken, but somehow we had forgotten the plastic forks. We scooped up the potatoes with our chicken bones, which made us laugh a little. Mom turned on the windshield wipers. Out in the dark, we could see the white of the breakers. We opened the windows so we could hear them roll in and break, one after another. "You know," said Mom, "whenever I watch the waves, I always feel that no matter how bad things seem, life will go on." That is how I felt too, only I wouldn't have known how to say it. So I just said yeah, and then we drove home. I feel a whole lot better about Mom. I'm not so sure about Dad, though. So, as she says, he has good qualities, but I don't think Bandit is a bum. But I don't like to think maybe that Bandit is a bum. But maybe Mom is right. And we'll stop right there.